So the first thing you have to do when you're building routine is you got to be a creature of habit, right? Shout out to what you do. You have to get disciplined and saying, I'm willing to be consistent with this. So everyone, I'd write this down. Consistency is worth more than perfection. When everyone's overwhelmed with disease or getting in shape or whatever you have to do, you have to get consistent before you worry about making it perfect. So if you're not consistent, I'm going to say, show me you can do this for 2 weeks straight. Show me you can be gluten-free for 2 weeks straight. Show me you can get rid of the alcohol for 2 or 3 weeks. When I start, I want to start with the focus of what I'm not doing more so than what I am doing.
An entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Chernow. What's cracking?
Dane, you know what it feels like to be knocking on death's door?
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, right?
Did you know that you had Crohn's your whole life?
No. You know, when I was 15 or 16, I was a normal kid in the woods of Virginia, just doing whatever, you know, neighbors, horses, we ate what we want. I worked at Papa John's Pizza for 4 years. What do you think I was eating, trying to save $1 for a new car? You know, trying to convince my dad to give me a Mustang, right? And so all I ate was just what was the cheapest, easiest thing. And when I got into fitness and lifting and athletics, it was like, how do I get my macros right at the cheapest way possible? So I never thought about it. No one in my family had ever been sick. I never even heard of inflammatory bowel disease. When I first heard of it, it was so shameful. It was like, who's ever going to marry me? Like, how am I ever going to find a woman or have kids? And my kid's going to deal with this? I mean, I went through the works emotionally when it happened. And even when I was diagnosed, I didn't know what it was. I didn't really look it up. I said, okay, doc, just give me what you're going to give me and let me go about my business. I mean, that afternoon, I was lifting weights, working on my entrepreneur skills and what business I was going to build. And it was my mother actually who started researching and goes, wait a minute, this is serious. You know, she didn't want to scare me, but I remember her talking to me like, she was trying to figure out how to talk to me about this without scaring me, and then start talking, you got to change your habits.
And that was at how old?
19 was the first time I went to the bathroom and it looked like a crime scene in the toilet. 19 years old. And I was in college. Blood, mucus, and no stool. But then I was having pain. So it's like, sometimes if you go to the bathroom, you're like, oh man, what was that? And you look down, it's just mucus, blood, and a little sediment. You're like,
it's never happened to me.
Thank God, right? And so it was very painful. And then it was kind of like a thought, like, oh, I need to take a step back from this. Because I was running a company in college. I was going to do 15 to 18 credit hours in school. And I was, just really into working out 6 days a week, doing sprints and, push-pull days. And I was just in it. And then I'll be drinking beers, playing beer pong at night and eating pizza on my cheat days. And so I just was doing the macro life. And that happened. And then by the time I was 22, 23, it was more full-blown, where I was going to the bathroom 10, 15, 20 times a day. And mind you, my entire life, this never happened. I was just a good old boy, never had any experiences like this. Everything I ate was gluten. Everything I ate had seed oils. Everything I ate was just what was the cost and what were the macros. And then by the time I was my 27th birthday, I was 120 pounds on a TPN feeding tube, 200 milligrams of infused prednisone. I was on Dilaudid, which is 7 times stronger than morphine. And I was taking 3 grams a day with a click of a button. So they just hit, oh, you got pain? I'm flying high. And it was in December of 2014 that my whole family flew into that same hospital and nearly died in that hospital. And doctors couldn't figure out why I was dying. They told my mom he might not live. It was a Thursday night. We don't know what to do with him. And I'll tell you right now what saved my life. The crazy thing, none of the doctors could figure out. And the whole time I was sick, like 4 or 5 years, man, of like, can't eat food without pain, cramping, urgency, blood, loose stool, energy, starting to get cystic acne everywhere, losing weight, going from 190 pounds to 170, 150, 140, 130. You're double looping the belt on a 32 waist, 31 waist. Like you can't even, nothing. And I didn't know what to do, and no one knew what to do. I went to Mayo Clinic, Cedars-Sinai. I went to UCLA, and I got a lot of the same story. We've got to use suppressants. Immunosuppressants are biologics to help this. And if that doesn't work, we're going to cut out your colon. It's called a colectomy. So at one point in 2014, they were saying, you have to get your colon removed right now, like today. And I kept denying it. And then I asked my mom to speak for me when I kind of lost consciousness and I wasn't able to really talk or communicate anymore. And I mean, it was crazy. I mean, looking back, I didn't do everything right as far as what I would recommend now. And I know a lot of people out there are suffering, and we all have to find our choices. But once I started figuring out what was actually happening, the doctors missed that one of the things, one of many, because I really want to get into how to help people and serve and what habits we can take to change your life. That's what the point of today is. But one of the things they miss is I had gotten an active viral load in my body called cytomegalovirus. It's like Epstein-Barr. You heard of that?
Of course.
This virus was going absolutely crazy, and they were giving me these suppressants and antibiotics, which were weakening my immune system, not strengthening it. They thought it was bacterial. Think antibiotic. So I was on 4 different antibiotics, the strongest immunosuppressants. I kept getting weaker because my body couldn't handle this viral load that was taking over my body. This is common with people with severe disease. They can die from things like this, right? So long story short, we finally had a doctor who gave us the hint of it, calls the local urgent doctor, says, you got to give this kid an antiviral chemotherapy or he's going to die. So they ordered me this. It was $5,000 for this sample, 6 figures to be on this thing. Okay.
Wow.
And I was an actor in LA. So I had crap insurance, I was a little just running around the world doing my thing. And all of a sudden I snap out of it on that chemo. Thank God they gave it to me. But then I was on it for about 2 months. I was able to come back to consciousness. But within about a week of taking that, I checked myself out of the hospital, and then I was housebound for a year trying to rebuild my life. It took me about 2 months to be able to walk again. So I was 120 pounds. And people say, how is that possible? Because when you have such muscle atrophy, when you lose 60 pounds of weight, 70 pounds of weight, and I was 8% body fat. I was already lean, a little bit of veins, easily see the 6-pack. I lost 60 pounds on that. So it wasn't like I had
all muscle.
It was not, a lot of it was muscle. When I was, shooting for Men's Health magazine or things like that, so I do little things, I'd be down to 6% body fat with a 320 pound bench at 173 pounds. 6'1", 6'2". I mean, I was strong. I was a creature of habit my whole life, and it really saved me with the disease. And I want to discover that today.
So I'd love to hear what you changed and what your life looks like now. Because you're obviously in great shape.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a strikingly handsome dude. What?
Thanks, Mike.
What habits have changed in your life from that year that you spent at home rebuilding to where you're at today?
Well, it's been 10 years. And I haven't taken a medication. I never got any surgeries, and I'm in complete remission. And this is considered a lifelong incurable disease, and I've helped thousands of people do.
And we're talking IBD now,
inflammatory bowel disease.
And
right?
Is that also is Crohn's a part of that?
Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis are the 2 main forms of inflammatory bowel disease. Crohn's is where you have chronic inflammation anywhere from your oral cavity all the way down to the bottom. Ulcerative colitis is where there's chronic inflammation local to the colon. 5 to 7 feet of your large intestine colon is where there's inflammation. And then there's different forms like pancolitis, where the whole colon is inflamed, or microscopic colitis, where they don't really see it, but they can test for it, or they find it under a microscope. So it's different levels of this. And then, roughly 20%, 15%, give or take, Americans are dealing with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome,
right? Which
I would consider that, in my opinion, more like pre-IBD. You know how we have pre-diabetic? It's something's going on with the gut. It's starting to get injured. And there's some core issues we can talk about there. But that whole year when I was there, I had to divorce my lifestyle as a young American man. I had to divorce the food, the way I was social, the way I communicated, the way I celebrated, I mean, think about it. Every single New Year's you had, every single birthday party, every single Christmas, every single holiday, what were you doing? Things that are not necessarily good for your health. That's how we celebrate. It's 2 a.m, it's alcohol, it's crap food, it's drunken pizza, And so I had to find another way to connect with my friends. I had to find another way to even consider dating. I had to find another way to find a reason to smile or laugh or put my hands up in the air besides I'm drunk, listening to some DJ. So it's like a divorce of that old life, and it's painful emotionally, spiritually. It's lonely. It's isolating. I mean, a lot of times the reason why we can't get healthy and we struggle with the habit of getting healthy is because we subconsciously see that as something that is lonely and isolating and not fun.
Sacrifice.
Like, who goes to get salads after a great night, you know? Nobody. Who goes and watches their macros and makes sure they got 180 grams of protein when they're out in St. Bart's or St. Martin? Like, we let go and we indulge, and these things are hard. But when you have chronic disease, your body won't let you indulge anymore. You can't. So if I was to have even too much water in the day, I might go to the bathroom 15 times with pain and blood and urgency. If I was to eat any kind of bread, pasta, raw food, I would get extreme pain and more blood and more bloat and cramp and then brain fog. It was like you're allergic to food and there's nothing you can do about it. And you're looking at your family to save you. You're looking at the doctor to save you. And everyone's just looking at you like, here's some drugs, you know, and your mom and dad are writing check after check after check trying to save you, but money's not doing it.
Is this something that was hereditary, or is it something that actually through lifestyle had manifested?
In my opinion, it's lifestyle, and I want to unpack that. No one in my family had ever had this disease or been sick. Our family, we don't have any of the issues, you know, heart disease, obesity, cholesterol problems, autoimmune disease. I mean, autoimmune is really an epidemic since the late 1980s. Mm-hmm. And we see correlations with what the Western world has done with the rolling of autoimmune. And we just see it more and more of people having diseases of like, what's that?
Oh, I'm riddled with it.
Right? And so you would like, some people listening is like, well, what's Crohn's or colitis? Well, what's multiple sclerosis and Sjogren's, and what's lupus, and what's, this new Alzheimer's we didn't have 50 years ago. 50 or 70 years ago, no one had even heard of this. In 2010, when I was finally diagnosed of Crohn's colitis, I'd never even heard of it. Not only my family had even heard of it. So there's this epidemic. And, a few things that I looked at is, well, if our grandparents didn't have it, what's the difference between how they lived and how I live? Because we got the same genes. So all four of my grandparents, no GI issues. All two of my parents, no GI issues. All my cousins, no GI issues. My brothers, my two sisters, nothing like this. One had an ulcer, little IBS symptoms, but nothing like this. So what had happened? And why was I fine at 15? What the heck happened? I think a lot of us are wondering out there. What happened? What is going on with me? Or even in the fitness world. You ever seen in the fitness world lately, it feels more like, can I perform at my best and sacrifice my health? But can I be my healthiest and perform at my best? So sometimes we're sacrificing, we're pushing our adrenals, we're taking more and more supplements and more powdered, proteins that we don't necessarily know what in them, the emulsifiers, the preservatives, the additives, and we don't know what that's doing to the terrain of the cells and the body. And that's what I discovered over the last 10 years. I became obsessed with what happened, like a detective.
So what happened?
Basically, okay, one of the things I'll give you right now, 13 months before I was finally diagnosed, I was wearing Invisalign. Invisalign is pure plastic. It's plastic that you are chewing on and swallowing all day long. Just recent clinical studies have shown that people with IBD have 50% more microplastics in their gut than the average person. And if you look at the amount of microplastics we're ingesting, right now the average American could be absorbing or digesting, taking in up to 1 credit card of microplastic every single week.
Wow.
It's in our air, it's in our seafood, okay? Think about this. Did your grandfather drink water out of a plastic bottle?
Definitely not.
Was it sitting on in Whole Foods or a Sprouts or a Food Lion for God knows how long, maybe sitting under God knows what temperatures and systems, where this purified water is now sitting in plastics with BPA? If we look at the clinical research, we see BPA, which can be in the plastic, we see microplastics, we see phthalates, we see all these toxins that clinically show they disrupt the good microbiome. Okay, so all of it. You hear all these big terms, PFAs, forever chemicals. It's in our plastic clothes, polyester. We hear about VOCs, voluntary organic compounds. These are fragrances in our candles, in our cologne, right? We've heard these terms, and we're like, oh, I think I heard of that. Or PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, that are in our running rivers. These chemicals are everywhere, and if you look at the clinical, it's over and over again. Disrupts the microbiome. So what does that mean? It inhibits all your police officers. All the guys patrolling the street of your gut, okay? The bifidobacterium, the lactobacillus, they are being inhibited. They are being put to sleep. Their levels are being controlled down. We don't have enough police officers. Then the emulsifiers like polysorbate 80, what holds peanut butter together and ice cream, that's been shown to act like dishwasher detergent to your gut lining. So the nice healthy mucous membrane that protects your gut from the inside of your body, the bloodstream, okay? Part of that is not just the epithelial cell lining, which is 1/2 a human hair in thickness. That's how tiny that is, that cell wall. But then the mucous membranes being basically cleaned out like a detergent and being thinned out, making your immune system, your epithelial cell lining, and your gut lining injured. And you become more sensitive to food. And the ability for these toxins to get into your bloodstream increase. So it has a downstream effect. So polysorbate 80, again, what is that emulsifier that hold things together? Think peanut butter. Like when you look at Jif, look like good organic peanut butter, right? Or almond butter, you see all that oil on top. Then you look at Jif and it's like flat, right? That's emulsifiers. They injure that gut lining. And so do antibiotics. So what else happened in the Western world that our grandparents didn't have? The overuse of antibiotics, the lack of breastfeeding, the increase in city living where we're just breathing it in, you know, like all of our air, we can breathe this stuff in that disrupts the gut as well. So there's all these chemicals that the strongest of us can handle it, but slowly it's creating an environment where now the body can start to break down. And so it's basically we're losing the terrain of our gut, which is our second brain. It's where 70% of our immune system lives that keeps us nice and strong and fights off infection. So when that happens, we have a cascade effect where our digestion goes down, lower stomach acid, less pancreatic enzymes, less liver function. Because if I have toxins going into the bloodstream because I don't have a mucous membrane, and then also with the lower good guys, what do? You get more bad guys. If I take half the police force out of New York City, what's the Upper East going to look like? What did it look like with COVID? You're like, don't go down 79th right now, right? It's like you don't know. And so now bacteria that could be balanced in the colon and balanced in the gut starts to kind of wander around like, yo, what's this over here? What's this over here? And all of a sudden we have SIBO. Everyone's heard of SIBO, small intestine bacteria overgrowth. Now we have colonic dysbiosis. But with the weakening of the gut lining, again, now they can actually climb up the gut. So the bacteria from the colon can proliferate. This gram-negative bacteria can proliferate up the 2 stories of the small intestine. It's 20 feet long. Okay, that's 2 stories. Your entire GI tract is 25 to 30 feet long. 5 to 7 feet of the colon, right? Another 20 feet of the small intestine, and then you have the esophagus and stomach, throw it in there about 20, 30 feet. So they're proliferating in a place they're not supposed to be in a weakened area because the mucosal membrane is naturally much thinner in the small intestine than the colon. So you have this terrain, like just imagine a city, everyone. I know this is probably
it's like a prison in your belly.
Yeah, let me put it to a metaphor. It's like you have, like we're in New York right now. We have New York City. The police officers go down, okay? More of the bad guys are kind of walking more of the streets they weren't walking before. There's more of them and they're in more areas, okay? The electrical system is starting to go in and out. That's the nervous system. Think of stress, adrenals, not sleeping enough. You can't sleep because your microbiome's off, which also controls a lot of your hormones and helps your enteric nervous system helps to control and create melatonin and cortisol. It's this vicious cycle. It's like domino effect. And so through that bacteria, well, all of those bad bacteria, they create something called metabolic endotoxemia. It's a big word that says every day these bacteria die off and they release these toxins, endotoxins. So they kind of release and they release and they release, and now you have a weakened gut, and where do they go? Well, they make it into the bloodstream. Well, all blood leads to what? The liver. Now the liver can't detox. Now you're getting skin reactions. Now you're getting eczema. Now you're getting psoriasis. Now you're getting brain fog. Now you're getting irritability. Now you're getting depression. Because your body can't even make the hormones. The gut is being destroyed, and it's the underlying problem of all of these modern diseases. If you look at the metabolics, if you look at all autoimmune disease, every single functional practitioner, I've spoke with some of the best in the world, okay? They all are going to start talking about the gut. You have to work on the gut no matter what disease. Arthritic pains. These endotoxins make it in the bloodstream, start causing arthritic pains.
So let's talk about solution.
Yes.
what did you do and what do you do now to preserve arguably the most critical system in the body?
You know, I spoke to like 2,000 doctors about this the other week. I mean, I've been obsessed with this for 10 or 12 years. And you know, I have a team of doctors on my staff, and we work with hundreds and thousands of people with gut health issues. And the hardest thing is you have to realize there's a difference between being a practitioner and a coach. Right? You can spend 10 years trying to understand the biology of what's happening, right? With the toxemia, the microbiome imbalances, what bacteria, how to get them up, what are the keystone microbiota, big words we don't really know what to do with. Okay, great. What do I do about it? Okay. That's where we need simple ways to integrate. Like if you're a personal trainer, you've got to figure out how to help change your client's perspective of what it's like to go to the gym. It needs to be a fun experience. It needs to be exciting. They need to see return on investment and return on energy quickly, or they're going to quit. So how do we start to see this? How do we feel better? How do we have more energy? How do we make sense of diet? This $1 trillion industry where everyone's arguing about meats and plants and this is bad and that's good and that's bad. So what are some simple takeaways we can start to do to get success? Well, there's 2 things we have to do with, let's say, food. The only 2 things that matter with food is it doesn't cause an inflammatory response, okay? So eliminate inflammatory response. And number 2 is that the food increases nutrient absorption. So I need high nutrient absorbed food. I need my body to be able to take it down, digest it. The pancreatic enzymes to release pancreas to properly absorb into the small intestine. And then for the certain bacteria in the colon to also take a little bit more of that water. There's electrolytes and some of those missed minerals from the small intestine. We need proper absorption. Okay, so how do I simplify that? Here's a takeaway. No seeds, no skins. If you can't swish it, don't eat it. Now, is that forever? No. That's if you're getting tons of bloating, tons of cramp, you have tons of GI issues. What can I do right now? Try to eat like food that you could give to a 17-month-old baby. Why? Because the baby doesn't have any kind of disease. It's just where the human gut starts to transform. Look at a baby. You just got to be careful, right? You don't give a baby pumpkin seeds. You don't give a baby a raw apple, but can you give a baby applesauce? Now, I'm not telling you to go buy applesauce at home. I'm just giving you the chemistry of it. You need more bioavailability. It needs to be easier in your body because you have low stomach acid, you have a weakened mucosal membrane, you have dysbiotic bacteria, so it needs to be easier.
So like, give us some examples of foods that could potentially be good for this.
Okay, I love this. I'm going to work on your nervous system a little bit right now. I want you to eat like a king. If you're on your yacht right now, and I'm like, money don't matter, and I bring this sterling silver plate out to you, it's handed to you, you're off the coast of Monaco, you're eating this, and you open it up. What's in there? For you, what's in there?
A big, juicy ribeye.
Okay, is it conventional or was it from local grass-fed?
Grass-fed, grass-finished.
Hell yeah. Is it juicy?
Super juicy.
Is it super soft?
Yes, tender as hell.
Do you have to chew the hell out of it, or do you just kind of melt in your mouth?
Not chewy, melts in your mouth.
So it's juicy, soft, delicious. It's something that maybe even a young person could easily break down. Side of carrots. Do you even need a knife to cut the carrot?
No, it's just nice and roasted well.
Melts in your mouth. Okay, no seeds, no skins. If you can't squish it, don't eat it. Okay. Now, forget the seeds and skins is debatable, but what I'm saying there is how you eat like a king is so easy to break down. You hardly have to chew it. Would you give that carrot to your 18-month-old son? On that plate, be like, yeah, here you go.
Sure.
What about a raw carrot?
Definitely not.
There it is. Eat like a king. It needs to be juicy, soft, delicious. You don't want dry, tough, rough. You got to rip it off the freaking bone type stuff. So start changing your perspective of what it is. If we can change the reality that in the relationship we have with it, it gets easier. Same thing with fitness. If I enjoy going to the gym, if I see my friends there, if I'm having fun while my heart rate's getting up, right? Then I'm going to be a lot more likely. That's why I think the whole fitness athletic wear went so crazy, because people want to look good when they're working out. They want to feel good and have a great time. Get happy and healthy at the same time. You can't get healthy until you get happy. So you got to put on that Bob Marley. You got to get in the sun. You got to find a reason to smile, and you got to eat good. You got to celebrate the amazing food from right outside, right from a farm. You want to know what to eat? Try to eat things that don't require ingredient facts. We sit here and we talk about, oh, you need to learn to read ingredients. How about this? What's the ingredient facts of an apple? Mm-hmm. What's the ingredient facts of a grass-fed local steak? You ever get tired of eating it?
Mm-mm.
If we just start working on things that don't need labels, it's much easier. Now, what did your grandfather eat who never had IBD, never had lupus, never had Sjogren's, never had multiple sclerosis? How much of the stuff did they eat that required being able to understand what polysorbate 80 was or red dye 40? 0. Now, we know clinically that these things are affecting the gut, right? We know it. The research is there, right? We see Dr. Casey Means coming up. We see RFK starting to say, look, the clinical research is there. We're poisoning ourselves. It's destroying the terrain, and it's creating basically it's connected to all of these new diseases in one form or another. Now, I'm not saying it's just this one root cause. It's creating an environment where our anatomy is being injured. So that's it. You got to get happy with going back just to connection to earth. Now, there's a different layer. Let's say someone here is listening and going, great, Dane. Yeah, I get it. I've already been eating clean for years. I'm still sick. Just because you take away a lot of the toxins doesn't mean the body can now heal itself. Some of us, yes, but some of us, no. Because these alien chemicals in our body, our natural detox systems can't get rid of, right? They need liver support. This is why the supplement industry is so important, or the herb industry, using milk thistle or fennel or ginger or curcumin as a spice. We need to support our natural detox pathways. What are the 5 detox pathways you need to know about? Liver, kidneys, the ability to poop, okay, GI, skin, and lymphatic system, right? You ever heard of like rebounding or jumping up, down? Your lymph moves when you move, okay, because your lymph doesn't have a heart. You got to move to get the lymphatic system moving. You have swollen hands, swollen ankles, swollen face. Usually your lymphatic system's a little tired out. That's going to help.
What do you do for that?
So you want to sweat. Like I love like sauna will move. Anything that gets your heart moving or your body moving is usually going to do good. They call it rebounding. Kids call it trampoline. I love how us adults give scientific words for just like play. You know?
So you think jumping on a trampoline is just it's a great technique for lymphatic drainage?
It can be one of anything. If you're moving, it can help. You can get a lymphatic massage. You ever heard of that? Lymphatic massage. We want to move the body. So my favorite's going to be like a dry sauna. The most clinical research is going to be a dry sauna about 180 degrees or a little bit more. Getting in there slowly, make sure you talk to your doctor, you're doing this right. But slowly, that's going to be great for HRV, dopamine, men's natural testosterone, lymphatic system. And you're also, when you sweat, right? If you can't sweat, you're not detoxing. So it's going to help with getting rid of heavy metals and mycotoxins.
What do you think? And how would you compare just traditional dry sauna to infrared sauna?
They're very similar. It's just way more clinical research on a dry sauna. So when we actually look at what works and why, the higher temperatures seem to work better as an environmental hormesis. So basically a light stress on your body. I have an infrared at home. I got a hybrid. I spent a little bit more money on that. And it was like, goes up to 165. But when I'm at the gym, I like it 180 to 200. And so that stress, right? Any kind of stress, like cold therapy is a stress on your body. Running could be a stress on your body. But what we have to understand about stress to help your body detox, the biggest missing link you need to take away right now is helping your body detox.
Let's talk about your morning routine, because I'm very curious to know what you do on a daily basis.
And so the first thing you have to do when you're building a routine is you got to be a creature of habit, right? Shout out to what you do. You have to get disciplined in saying, I'm willing to be consistent with this. So everyone, I'd write this down. Consistency is worth more than perfection. When everyone's overwhelmed with disease or getting in shape or whatever you have to do, you have to get consistent before you worry about making it perfect. So if you're not consistent, I'm going to say, show me you can do this for 2 weeks straight. Show me you can be gluten-free for 2 weeks straight. Show me you can get rid of the alcohol for 2 or 3 weeks. When I start, I want to start with the focus of what I'm not doing more so than what I am doing. Because when you take these things out, the body has the ability to heal itself, right? You don't need a morning routine to heal a wound on your arm. Your wound will heal as long as you stop aggravating it, right? You get a cut, you just put a bandage over it and don't aggravate it. You twist your ankle, just wrap it and don't aggravate it. Stop aggravating the disease. Get rid of the toxins first, okay? So my morning routine when I started was just all about, can I get happy not doing these things that are injuring and hurting me that everyone else is doing, okay? So I'm going to bed at the same time. I'm reducing EMF and blue light at night. I'm doing, one thing I will do is like prayer and purpose, anything for my nervous system to get going, You could say not or doing, but not wearing shoes outside. Just get your feet in the ground, okay? There's an energetic connection. They call it grounding, right? Adults call it grounding. Regular humans just call it playing outside without these shoes on your feet, right? So when you take your shoes off and you get connected to the earth, it actually helps your lymphatic system move. And clinical research has shown that it actually helps your liver, your blood start to cleanse itself. Your blood flow gets better. So people with bad blood flow and stagnant issues, you can research this and see about grounding. Like you can take a copper stake, put it in the ground, connect it to your bed, okay? And it will help you be grounded. It's crazy. You can ground plants, you can ground humans. So there's little things we can start doing there, but get rid of the bad stuff. Just say, I'm not gonna do alcohol for 30 days, okay? It's only hurting, it's not helping. And so that's where you start. As you get more advanced, things will make sense. So if I tell you my morning routine, other people will be saying, I can't do that. This guy can't help me because I can't do what he does yet. If he could dunk on 11-foot basketball and he's telling you what to do, you don't start advanced, you start slow. So I'm going to drive that point home really quickly so people can understand about the overwhelmness of what do I do. If you had a bum knee, you ever injured your knee, your shoulder?
Of course, I've had 2 surgeries in my knees.
You ever done physical therapy?
Absolutely.
Okay. Were there things in physical therapy you couldn't do in week 1, but you could do in the 3rd month of physical therapy?
For sure.
And if you had tried to do what you did on the 3rd month of physical therapy in week 1, would it have made it worse?
Definitely.
Same knee, same problem, same person. What you do on month 3 versus what you do in week 1 matters. And at one certain point, it can inflame you. At another point, it can heal you. Exact same thing.
Very true.
Let that sink in for a second. It's not just what you do. It's when you do it, how you do it, the state of your body when you do it. So I eat certain foods now that people listening cannot eat, that will bloat them, will cause diarrhea, that will cause pain.
Like what?
Raw foods. Just think about, what do you want to do next with that kid whose gut is growing into an adult gut? They're just getting their teeth and they're just building their gut. Can you handle fiber? A lot of us can't handle fiber. That's why carnivore works really well for a lot of us. Fiber is the indigestible plant matter found only in plants, right? Most of us want to get into functional medicine. I get to say, give me a sentence on what fiber is. They're like, I have no idea. I just heard it's good for me, right? So what about, can we handle fiber? What about grains? Why can't we handle grains? Do we know what a complex carbohydrate is? Like if you eat a banana, that's not going to fill you up as much as brown rice. There's certain times you need brown rice over banana, but if they're both 25 grams of protein, what's the difference?
See, it's so interesting. I'm
25 grams of carbohydrates. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not in the oatmeal business, but I make a product, an oatmeal product, right?
Yes.
And there is only one meal, and I struggle with gut stuff. I just actually went through a very intense 6-month gut rebuild protocol.
Awesome.
And I found out that I had H. pylori and Candida, and I had a couple of parasites. And so I went through this I didn't want to do the antibiotics because I also have chronic Lyme disease. So when I was diagnosed with that, I got smashed with antibiotics,
yes.
Right? And I think that is ultimately the catalyst to what disrupted my gut microbiome, because I think I did 8 months of antibiotics when I was diagnosed, and I spent a year very similar to you. I mean, I wasn't hospitalized, but I was in fear of my life, and I couldn't figure it out, and no one could figure it out until finally I met a functional doc that said, I think you have Lyme. And I was like, I've been tested for it. He was like, no, let's go get the real test.
He was right. That's a hard one to find.
Yeah, so ultimately, I think the intense amount of antibiotics, and then, I had multiple sinus infections. So docs, first thing, sinus infection, drop the tube down your nose. There's the infection. We're going to hit you with antibiotics. So when my gut, I wasn't able to digest, man, I wasn't able to, I would eat anything. And, it wasn't all the time, but there would be seasons or spells or flare-ups where I would just eat, it could be anything. And all of a sudden my gut would just explode.
Exactly.
And I just couldn't figure it out. And so finally I sent out a bunch of stool tests, came back, H. pylori, Candida, parasites. And a doctor that I went to was like, look, we're gonna kill this. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna wipe it out with antibiotics, and then we're gonna worry about rebuilding it. And I just the word antibiotic just scares me, man. It's a tough. It's a tough one for me.
They're overused and they destroy most of your good bacteria, and then it's a race to who's going to recolonize. But the question is, can you recolonize that divine, natural, diverse microbiome that has thousands of different species connecting and talking to each other and talking to your cells? I don't know. Can we really rebuild? It's tough. You have to really know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, this coach that I worked with put me through just this real intense, really, I mean, a holistic path.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of different diet protocols. It was keto, it was carb cycling, it was carnivore, it was like just a bunch of different things, and an enormous amount of herbal supplements. And ultimately, really did help. Right,
Awesome.
like took the candida out. H. pylori came way down. No more parasites. But I believe that I probably still have some gut stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So the one meal, and this is not me just saying this because I have the business, but it is partly as to why I launched the business. Soaked oats with protein and fat, healthy fats, healthy protein, or a significant amount of protein, not just like 5 grams of protein, like a significant amount of proteins with soaked oats have been the one meal that I can eat, and it never impacts my gut.
Awesome.
It just never impacts my gut. Now I can't eat.
I know you're not lying because I see so many people with IBD extreme who will say the same thing, that sprouted, rolled, soaked oats will work really well for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lifesaver for me.
Yeah.
Because I really do struggle with this gut stuff. And so I'm just curious, like, what is, for somebody who is struggling, what is like the ideal sort of pathway? So you're saying no seeds, no seeds, no skins, and if you can't squeeze it, don't eat it.
If you can't squish it, don't eat it. Now, that's a very basic concept I'd love to give to people who are completely lost and new to this. If you're more advanced, take that with a grain of salt because there's layers. But at least someone has something. They go to a restaurant, they're like, okay, something I can at least hold on to, instead of like, oh, I'm keto, oh, I'm carnivore, oh, I'm plant-based, oh, I'm 500 bananas a day, oh, I'm fasting, I'm just, it's too crazy. We need some kind of laws to hold on to. And just a little side note with the H. pylori, H. pylori is naturally occurring in about 98% of us. The problem was it was overgrown, right?
Yeah.
Because what? Your terrain couldn't balance the H. pylori, what we were talking about, the candida. Candida is naturally occurring and needed in the colon. What is candida? Overgrowth. The candida is in a position it's not supposed to be, and now it's interfering with your gut. It's causing dysbiosis. It's causing fermentation to food. So you probably get an undigested food in the stool, lots of gas, lots of bloat, lots of headache, and your appetite's going down.
A lot of brain fog.
A lot of brain fog, and then that's what? Metabolic endotoxemia. You're herxing. Herxheimer reactions when your body becomes over-toxic to toxins it can't properly drain. So if I was working with you, I'd say, let's check out your liver. And where that next move for you, for people who've already done the kung fu like Mike here, I'm going, how do I take back that microbiome so it doesn't keep coming back? Because I can kill. But now if your body can't balance itself, you're going to be right back in the same spot in a couple of months. And you might be feeling that way. You're like, man, I was good. And, I'm not feeling that good. Feeling good? I'm not feeling that good. So we got to do probiotic stacking. We've got to repopulate. We got to look at keystone microbiota. Where's your Akkermansia muciniphili, right? That's a mucus lever. That helps to show a little bit about how well that mucosal membrane is working for you. Where's your levels of lactobacilli, Bacteroidetes, okay? The phylum microbiota. Where's what is your quantitative PCR stool test showing me? I like the gut zoomer. That's going to give me a lot more depth. Where are your short chain fatty acids? Okay, now, oatmeal can help with short-chain fatty acids. Maybe that's something you need. What's the pH balance of your colon? The less pH, if it's too alkaline, you're going to be more likely to get sepsis and continue to get infection. So we need proper pH. We need proper short-chain fatty acids. We got to rebuild that mucosal membrane. We got to start to work on building that microbiome diversity up, which will modulate the cytokine reaction. Okay, and then your digestion's going to get better.
Shit, man.
I just went ninja on you a little bit. So all that's really simple to say this. Stay away from the toxic stuff. Number one, it's more about what you're not doing than what you are doing. Your body will heal itself a lot of times. That's why a lot of people said this famous diet healed me. Carnivore doesn't heal you. Carnivore creates space for a healing response. What is the best thing about carnivore? There's no sugar. You're going into ketosis. Your body needs protein to heal. That's great, yeah. And maybe you're not ready for the fibers yet, so you're going to slow all that down. But best believe your mucosal membrane needs polyphenols. It needs prebiotics to thrive. Right? The mucous membrane, the Akkermansia, the keystone microbiota, they love polyphenols found in extra virgin olive oil, found in berries, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries. Okay? And so there's a time and place, physical therapy. Okay? Fiber or food is like physical therapy. If you do it at the wrong time, it'll hurt you. Same problem, same person, at the right time, under the right circumstances, it will help heal you. That's the difference, right? It's the same thing with like, you got to know when to put pressure on things, and it's hard, right? So there's levels to this. There's beginner. And what I want everyone to really get excited about, you can get massive results in beginner mode. You don't have to become a Jedi and be able to do double backflips to be able to really heal. You can get great results quickly. And so focus on those foundations. And so where do we start? Okay. We talked about the toxic load. Now we need to start rebuilding the terrain. All right. As we build the terrain, I like to use certain probiotics that are single strain. Okay. So I like to use only Bifidobacterium bifidum. Okay. And then only use Lactobacillus bulgaricus. And then only use Lactobacillus acidophilus. That took me about 5 years to figure it out, by the way. So everything I'm saying to you right now is 10 to 15 years of studying 4 or 5 hours a day, going to school for natural medicine, working with some of the biggest functional doctors on the planet, and going and having aha moments through the years and trying on myself. I've been patient zero since 2012, 2011. Okay. And I've run these things on a few thousand people with chronic disease. Few thousand. We see like 160 clients a week around the world. I got coaches, doctors all around the world that work in, right? So I'm more of a CEO now who just knows this stuff. And I live this. And I've been pain to purpose. So I care. I'm all about trying to do things right. And I'm going to do whatever I can to get everyone here massive results. Okay? Maybe we just talk and figure out what's going on with you and then, try to take it to the next level. So we got to take back that terrain, and then we've got to balance. If you don't balance, you're just going to keep getting dysbiosis again. What's dysbiosis? The overgrowth of bad bacteria and the lack of good bacteria, okay? So colonic dysbiosis turns into SIBO or SIFO, small intestine fungal overgrowth, small intestine bacteria overgrowth. When that happens, you're going to have 10 times the amount of toxins, endotoxins, also known as lipopolysaccharides, that are going to go into your bloodstream and screw you up and give you that brain fog you were getting, or cystic acne. I was covered in cystic acne. And when you take the antibiotics, it continues to destroy your natural terrain. So it might kill the bad guys, but it's like a bomb on Lower East Side. It's like, great, we got rid of the vermin, but there goes Lower East Side. So it's not the best way. I want to send in specific SWAT team to hit them with as minimal friendly fire as I can get. And then I want to double my police officers in there. And I want to send in more medics and more firefighters to take out all the problems, all the fires. Okay. It's game plan. It's game time, right? So that's what we're going to do. So probiotics. Once you start doing well with probiotics, I'm going to start testing you with wild-crafted fermented foods. Maybe like a coconut kefir if you're dairy sensitive. I might then work you into a goat or sheep. Now, goat's going to be most like breast milk, so people do best when they go on that. But these yogurts have tons, like 300 billion CFUs of wild-crafted, bioavailable probiotics, okay? And they're mostly lactobacillus, lactose milk. Okay, so that's going to be small intestine. When I'm dealing with the colon, I'm going for bifidolongum, bifidoinfantis, bifidobacterium. Okay, I'm looking for that. I'm going for short-chain fatty acids. I'm putting you on butyrate, and I'm getting short-chain fatty acid foods that help to build up the butyrate. So I'm looking at ghee, right? I want ghee. I want green bananas, maybe some potato, a little bit of oatmeal.
You know what's interesting for me? So the one food that always aggravates my gut, and it sucks because I love it so much.
Hit me.
Is sweet potato or any kind of squash. I love squash. I love winter squash. I love delicata. I love acorn. I love butternut. I love all the squashes. I love sweet potato more than anything. I just can't eat it.
Can you eat this much? Just a little bit. If I gave you like 2 spoons, we'd be okay?
I think so.
So it's when you eat more of it, you react.
You know, I haven't really tested that necessarily, but I just know that if I eat 4 ounces of sweet potato, my gut turns inside out, man. So
this is what I call food philosophy. My goal for everyone out there is to not have a diet, but build a lifestyle. And then you take the famous diets and what's happening with the food, and you just Sherlock Holmes it. You literally just do detective work. Well, what's high in sweet potato? Resistant starches. Resistant to being digested starches, and if you have SIBO and you have dysbiotic bacteria, are going to ferment and cause more reaction. So I'm guessing you might get headache, low energy, bloating, and maybe diarrhea.
I don't really feel the headaches. I don't get a lot of headaches, but I certainly get low energy, bloating, diarrhea, or close to diarrhea, and
loose stool,
and certainly brain fog.
Okay. So this might be a fermentation process. So if we were looking at famous diets, what a functional doctor might tell them is to go on the low FODMAP diet, right? So low fermenting auxiliaride, dinucleotide, monosaccharide, and polonyl, something like that is what it stands for, okay? So it's all about The great thing about this type of diet, remember, a diet is just a strategy to teach you what's going on, so then you can just use it on your Batman belt in the future. You don't stay on it forever. You just got to learn famous diets. I call that food philosophy. So that's how I free people of diets and build a lifestyle. I just teach them the famous diets, and then they can look at a plate of food and assess its risk. Just look at it. So with sweet potato, I'm going high resistance starch. You might be able to eat a little, can't eat a lot. So it's a low FODMAP principle. That's most likely dysbiosis still and maybe some SIBO. We need to, you're having trouble with resistant starches, so we want to be able to increase those beneficial bacteria and slowly work it up. So I'd say be eating more, start working on, as your body can handle it, more sauerkraut. You need to build that mucosal membrane up. You probably need to get more fermenting foods again to get that microbiome to be able to break down those resistant starch. You might need to go heavier on biofilms and also maybe things like wild of oregano or something to continue to lower those dosages. So I would wonder if you took a few drops, if you could handle it, okay, this is more advanced, if you could handle wild of oregano with 75% carvacrol, if you took that around the same time as the sweet potato, does it become easier for you to take? So maybe some digestive enzymes. We take it with a meal and don't eat any other high carb foods, just sweet potato, a little bit of meat, digestive enzymes, maybe a few drops of wild of oregano at the same time and see what happens. And then 20 minutes later, I'd take a binder to grab all those, any of the endotoxin release or reaction from the fermentation. Or it could be a histamine problem, because when people have that SIBO, they'll tend to get a histamine reaction. So I'll use something like quercetin or nettles to help calm down that, or I'll take diamine oxidase, which is a DAO, with the meal to reduce that histamine reaction. But once I know, I just fix it.
Jeez, man, it is intense. It is like
I'm sorry if I just word vomited on you guys.
No, it's just like the journey is so it's a real thing, and I feel like there's after going through 6 months of this journey with 17 different supplements every day, and the timing, and upon awaking, with your first meal, after the third bite, at lunch, with dinner, post dinner, there was just like the timing of it. It was so I felt like it was it increased my cortisol levels, because I was always so stressed out about having to make sure I timed all these supplements.
So let's make it simple right now, guys. Here's something simple that doesn't cost a thing. Start your morning every day with a hot tea, okay? In the hot tea, anyone with digestive issues, I want you to use some lemon, organic lemon. I want you to use a little bit of apple cider vinegar if you can handle it, okay? Then if you want, you can add a little ginger, okay? Ginger is going to be a little antimicrobial. It's going to help with any nausea. It's going to be great for increasing your natural digestion. The more your natural digestion is optimized, the less symptoms you're going to have. So you're dealing with the problem upstream, so the downstream problems tend to be less. So every morning, like you said, my morning routine, I love to start with a tea.
What kind of tea?
Just hot. I do hot water, either distilled or really clean water, and I just put a little lemon in it, and you just concoct it at home. For people who want to get away from taking a million supplements, just use to learn nature and just learn to add things in as you need. So that's what I'm saying. A little apple cider vinegar, it's not going to cost a thing. A little lemon juice, make sure it's hot water. Then you can add in maybe a little bit of George's aloe vera. You can get it at Whole Foods for like $9, and just put 1 ounce of that. It's anti-H. pylori, it's anti-ulcer, it's anti-gastritis. It helps calm down GERD and esophagus issues, okay? And it can just calm down that body. Now, if we can just narrow down what actually is a reaction, is it a Herx? Is it a dysbiotic issue? Is it a histamine problem? Once I can figure that out, now my answer isn't 20 things. It's just like, if you know you're going to eat foods that could cause a fermentation response, you're going to do this one thing. But if you start your day optimizing your nervous system and your digestion, and you use mucosal healers, you're going to probably feel great. Just those 3 things. They're low risk and high reward. Create a tea, and in that tea, I can use digestive bitters, fennel, ginger, right? Peppermint. So simple. Cut a little piece of ginger, throw it in there. A little shot of apple cider vinegar, a little shot of George's aloe vera, a little lemon juice. Lemon juice is high in vitamin C and electrolytes. I can throw a little salt in there for extra electrolytes, especially if you're going to go do a run or do sauna. That's it. And then sip on it. Then get out of a sympathetic state. Get your feet in the ground. That'll get the parasympathetic. Just look at the sun. Don't look at the phone and the blue light first thing in the morning. Just find a way to chill your body. How do you know if you're in the parasympathetic? Simple way to success. Salivate. If you aren't salivating, you're not in the parasympathetic. That's why when people did prayer and purpose before they ate, it did help, because their nervous system calmed down. They started secreting digestive enzymes orally, and that helped to increase the natural digestion in their stomach. So take a second. You know when they talk about chewing your food, all that? Like, none of us can do it. We're like, I can't chew this 30 times for every food I eat. I can fix my gut. Just get yourself salivating. And then your nervous system, right? The parasympathetic helps to regulate what? Your vagal nerve. This nerve helps to stimulate digestion. So if you can get yourself salivating, you're going to stimulate digestion. You're going to probably have less of a problem with the sweet potato. That's when people say, I did German new medicine, I did EFT tapping, I did hypnosis, and my gut's better. Because they're stimulating the parasympathetic and they're stimulating the vagal nerve that helps control digestion and the microbiome health, by the way.
What percentage of the country is struggling with gut issues?
Oh my gosh. I mean, do you want my opinion? I can give you some clinical on that, but the clinical I think is behind. It's crazy. I mean, I think it's something like they're considering 20% of America, a number around that. Don't quote me. Look this up, guys, for me. But I think it's like 80 to 100 million Americans are dealing with some form of GI issue, bloating, constipation, cramp. You know, one of my clients, one of the most successful guys I ever met, was on Miralax for 12 years. No one knew. It's like, it's just like, what's going on? So yes, it's a lot to figure it out. It's almost like it's overwhelming, but I promise you this, doing it is a lot easier than learning it. What I'm saying, I know it's overwhelming, so just simplify it. And a lot of the answer is just nature. Just go to like old school stuff. Plants are just, herbs are plants. They're right around us. Start with the tea. Start with your nervous system. And then my favorite for like diarrhea, a little glutamine can be great. And if you're a weightlifter, perfect, win-win, right? 5 to 10 grams of glutamine a day. And then another one with the tea. And then your morning meal, give yourself a little bit of time, have the tea, wait 30 minutes. And then when you eat, try to get yourself to salivate. Maybe the problem is just you're just so rushed in life. Everyone's just running and eating. And then there's a convenience problem. I don't have the time to prepare food. Well, this is going to be a great option for that. A little oatmeal can help with that. Boil 2 eggs or make a shake. One of my favorite things that increases bioavailability and reduces inflammatory response is going to be a shake. Now, banana. You want to lower your sugar and increase your resistant starches to feed the short-chain fatty acids. Focus on a little bit of greenish banana, not brown. Browned out's higher sugar. A little blueberry, high in quercetin, high in bioflavonoids, high in antioxidants. Little raspberry, lowest sugar with the highest amount of fiber and prebiotics. Raspberries. It's got to get them clean. Right? So you can do a little bit of this stuff. You can add some protein powder. I like everything unsweetened. A little hack, I buy everything unsweetened and I sweeten it at home. I don't buy anything flavored, not a yogurt, none of that stuff. Unflavored, hydrolyzed organic beef bone broth protein, 26 grams per scoop, extremely bioavailable, doesn't cause much response with gut issues. Okay? Like Paleo Valley's got a good one. Just Ingredients has got a good one. Designs for Health has got a good one. Just get a hydrolyzed beef protein. I don't do whey anymore. I don't do, me personally, I don't do, the seeds or the hemp. I just like this. If you're vegan, I like pressure cooked organic pea protein. Okay, I can get unsweetened pressure cooked. Pressure cooked reduces lectins, big word for plant defenses, anti-nutrients, increases bioavailability and reduces inflammatory response. I can put a little vanilla extract in there. I can put some dates. Dates might be high in sugar, but they actually don't spike your glycemic index as much as people think. Right? I can go on and on with all these little hacks, but this is why I love it, guys. This is why I'm going to tell you right now, learning functional medicine is priceless. It's the most valuable thing on the planet right now. I can talk to a billionaire and I can say it's $100 million to heal you. He's going to pay it because he's got $1 billion. The price is subjective. So the more you get empowered, the biggest mistake we made is we delegated out our health, just like we delegated out our money back in the 50s and 60s with pensions and unions and the government. And all of a sudden we woke up one day and said, wait a minute, I can't just work without have 4 kids and have a wife and buy a house for 60 grand anymore. I've got to take back control of my wealth. Well, guess what? Now we're in the age of we have to take back control of our health. We should have never delegated it out. So build wealth in your health, and you will thrive in this life.
Man, I think that's a great place to stop. The amount of content and the amount of information and the tools that there is no doubt about it. I'm starting my day every day with a hot tea, with a little bit of ginger, a little bit of apple cider.
Stop cold water.
There is no doubt. So and then I also love just the simplicity of walking outside with bare feet and just standing in the grass and walking on the grass.
You hear about red light therapy?
Yeah.
Just see morning sun, same thing. Save yourself $5,000.
Dude, you are a wealth of knowledge. You are
Thanks, man.
I mean, I don't know if I haven't met anybody like you before.
Thank you, brother.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Thank you. It's pain to purpose.
You've done it. You've done it, and you've healed yourself. And I encourage anybody listening, to go onto Dane's Instagram and just look at that image. And from the guy that's sitting in front of me now to the guy that was, whatever that was, 10 years ago.
10 years, yeah, 10 years.
I mean, holy smokes, man! Congratulations,
Thank you,
incredible.
brother. And for everyone, just with that hope, that 10 years ago when I nearly died, I was already practicing natural medicine for 3 or 4 years. Don't give up hope. It seemed impossible. Even when I was on the strict diets, it didn't work. The supplements didn't work because it wasn't put together. And the number one reason I failed is because I kept outsourcing my health to a naturopath doctor, a DC, an MD, something. And then I just said, give me the hack. And then I was taking 30 caps a day because the guy told me to. I didn't know it. I didn't own it. Your life won't change till you become the CEO of your health. And when you do that, and when you make the investment, I'm making this a priority, your habits will change. Your life will change. And you'll be able to do it not just for you. You do it for your kids. You do it for your mom and dad. And be thankful that you got this and not your family, because I want to go through this. Give it to me, not mom. Give it to me, not my son. Like that gives me chills. That gets me so excited. I'm so fired up for myself because you can just change your mind. Truth is not real. It's a perspective, pain to purpose. You want to have purpose in this life. You got to go through a little hell to get to heaven. There's no way. You got to go through it. You can't go around it, and if this helps, share it and just realize I want to be empowered. I'm not doing this just to find the hack. That's where you end up wasting money and you get tired and you burn out. I'm doing this because I want to become empowered. I'm done delegating my health. And then at that point, just say this to people like me, say, whoa, slow the hell down, make it make sense. Teach me like I'm a 5th grader. Just simple. Okay, give me 2 sentences on why I need to take this supplement. Whatever. Why am I taking this? What's it going to do? How long do I need to consider it? What are the top 5 things I need to do to get my return on energy, right? That's what's going to build belief. You don't get belief by having just faith. It's faith and hard work, and then results creates the massive belief. So you have to have that faith. You got to walk that foggy path, but then you got to put in the work and then make it your own. Because if you keep doing what other people tell you to do, you're going to get burnt out. Make it yours. Hear what I'm saying. Hear what that guy's saying. Read that book. Bring it in together. Sit down and say, I'm writing out my daily plan. So own your daily plan. Take from me. Right? Take from Mike, take from everyone, and just keep. That's when I healed. When I finally healed, I stopped doing everyone else's plan and I did my plan. Oh, I get you want to be carnivore? No, I'm gonna do a keto-based meal once a day, and then I'm gonna do this fruit-based meal once a day because that diet helped me in this way, and that diet helped me in this way, and that supplement helped me. That didn't help, that didn't help, that didn't help. So I'm bringing all this into my plan. So don't just do the plan, do your plan, and your life will change, and everyone you care about will change.
Where can the audience find you?
Man, use that internet and Dane Johnson. You'll find me all over. Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle. We do a free session with you, a strategy session to talk about case, medications, what you've tried, what hasn't worked. We want to put our best foot forward. Integrity and trust is the most important thing to get real results. We want testimonies. We want results. We want to create a home for people who are sick. Man,
ladies and gents, what a powerful episode! Holy smokes! I'm like, I'm truly, like my brain is buzzing. My brain is buzzing, and if this episode impacted you, made you think, put pen to paper for you, share the episode. Share it with someone that you think would appreciate it. Share it with someone that you know is struggling, someone that doesn't have the answers and have asked all the right people. Share it, because information is medicine. And as far as I'm concerned, we hear a lot today. The world of wellness is complicated, it's confusing, and there's a lot of information. However, take in what you can and leave the rest. There was guaranteed 1 or 2 or 10 pieces of this podcast today that you will take home with you, and you will attempt and you will try. And if it was too much for you, then take the step and reach out to Dane, because he's got a business that helps people try to find their way back home to health. I think today, and I've said it before, you can have 1,000 problems in life, But when your health becomes a problem, it becomes the only one. The only one. And we're here, and I'm here, and this podcast is here to help you find your path, find your way back home. It might not be this episode, it might not be the one that you listened to before, but I guarantee there's one in the mix that will bring you to a place of clarity. And that's why I do this. So I appreciate you guys. I really do. This community means everything to me. And pass on the episode, pass on the podcast, share it with someone. And I love you. Until the next one, y'all. Peace.